doing the Pythagorean theorem. This only applies to right triangles. This should be a concept that you have learned since you're in grade 8 and 9. The formula for it is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The c represents the hypotenuse. And a and b represents the legs of the triangle. Legs. When we label it, hypotenuse is your longest side, and your a and b are interchangeable as well. They can go either or. These are your legs. Again, longest side. And it is directly across the 90-degree angle. And the 90-degree angle is represented by a little square. Lowercase letters represent side legs. And this is a very important concept because you learn it again later in your Foundations 20. These represent the angle triangles. Angles of the triangles. Okay, every lower letter matches an uppercase letter. So little a represents is opposite the big A, right? Little b is opposite the big B. So for this one here, we have a little s, and directly opposite would be a little s. Big R would be little r, and big T would be little t. Okay, they're directly across. Next, we can actually use the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side. So what you always do is label your triangle ABC. I'm going to label that B, I'm going to label this A, and that can be C. Formula, again, is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now we just sub in our values. A represented by 3.8. So a little squared, do not forget the little 2. Again, that means 3.8 times 3.8, not 3.8 times 2. Plus 5.2 squared equals, and c is represented by q, so we write down q squared. So 3.8 times 3.8 is going to be 14.44 plus 5.2 times 5.2, which is going to be 27.04 equals to q squared. Always bring that down. Add those two together, you should get 41.48 equals q squared. Now, we want to get q by itself, but there's a little 2 there represented by squared. The opposite of squaring something is square rooting. So we're going to square root q squared, but what you do to one side, you must do to the other. So, square root of 41.48 is going to be 6.44 meters equals c. So that length there represents 6.44 meters. Let's try another one. So, let's label our triangle again. ABC, B, C. Use the same formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now something's a little different this time. We're given c this time. It won't change anything because you should have know how to solve equations. So we sub in z for a, that's what it is, plus b squared represents 6.9 inches, and put a little squared there, equals to 12.8 squared. What is 6.9 times 6.9? And then 12.8 times 12.8. Just bring down the z squared. This will be 47.61 equal to 163.84. Now, we want z squared by itself, but the problem is that we have a positive 47.61 on the left-hand side, so we've got to move that over. So the opposite of positive 47.61 is negative, so we're going to minus one side. And when you do that one side, you must also do the other. So 47.61 minus 47.61 gives you 0. So those cancel out. You're left with z squared equal to, that taken away from each other, 116.23. Now I'm getting another squared, so the only way to get rid of squaring something is to square root it. So do one side, again, you must do to the other. Z will equal 10.78 inches. So that's how you find it when you're given the hypotenuse. Let's do a story problem. A TV has a following dimensions 50 centimeters long and 22 centimeters wide. What is the diagonal length of the television set? So let's draw a picture first. This is my TV. Right. 50 centimeters long and 22 centimeters wide. So I'm going to do this way here. My drawing's not accurate, obviously. 22 centimeters and 50 centimeters. And we want to figure out what the diagonal is. And this is obviously a 90 degree, so we can apply Pythagorean's theorem. So let's plug in the formula. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we're going to use this triangle here. And we're trying to figure out what the diagonal is. So let's go A, B, C. 22 squared plus 50 squared equals c squared. Alright, 22 times 22 and 50 times 50. That will give you 484 plus 2500 equal to c squared. Add those up. You should get 2984 equal to c squared. Again, when you have a square, you square root it. Do to one side, you must do to the other. So square root of c squared is c, and your answer for the diagonal is 54.63 centimeters.